Perfect.
Okay, the recording has started, so I am going to call this meeting to order. This is the Parks and Recreation Commission Tree Subcommittee meeting taking place on Tuesday, July 21st at 6 p.m. Present are Jessica Gerber, myself, Chris McCoy, and Bridget McBride. So I guess we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
indivisible,
excuse me,
with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all. Sorry about that. Carrot went down the wrong way. Okay, so first on the agenda is elect a chairman for the subcommittee. So do I have a motion? Yes.
I have a motion.
Yes.
I would like to nominate Jessica Gerber. And
okay.
I
Do I have
like
a second?
To nominate Jessica Gerber. I was going to give a little speech on your behalf, but if you have a second, that would be great.
No, you don't have to.
All right. I had it written out, Jessica. All right. Well, no, I want to get. Look, I think that, I'm going to go ahead and give it. I think you're a natural leader. You've proven yourself on town boards, commissions, charitable endeavors. I can probably speak on Bridget's behalf here, but I think she and I, being newer to a lot of these commissions in town, I think we can learn a great deal under your leadership, which in turn is going to serve, the citizens of Fairfield in a better manner. That's why I'm.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So do I have a second?
I will second. This is Bridget McBride.
Okay, so we have moved by Mr. McCoy, seconded by Mrs. McBride. Okay, so we'll take a vote. All right, I'll go around alphabetically. Bridget McBride.
Yay.
Chris McCoy.
Yay.
And I will vote as well. Jessica Gerber, yay. So it is 3-0, and I am now officially the chairman, so thank you very much. I really appreciate your kind words, Chris, and I hope that I will live up to your expectations. So basically the only other agenda item tonight is to hear, consider, and act upon any other business which shall properly come before this meeting. So just I hope you both saw, I sent an email. I thought with some information that might be helpful for us to kind of keep our discussion moving forward, which is kind of tricky since we're not in person. So what I did do here is I first just copied over the motion that we all voted on last week, because that's basically kind of like the charge of this committee. So it just says, and I'll just read it here because it's really brief, to approve year-long lights on the Tree of Hope with the stipulation other charities or organizations that benefit children in need may sponsor the Tree of Lights with their colors of choice, subject to Parks and Recreation Commission approval between the dates of January 16th and November 29th. So that is kind of what we've been tasked to, come up with, is to address this particular motion that was made last week and approved unanimously by the Commission. So the first off I thought would just be kind of to figure out logistics. And I did put here 3 different possible options in terms of the timing of how much time we allow for each organization. So the first option, especially since in our motion we did say, between or inferred that between November 30th and January 15th, we will that will be when the tree will be lit by Al's Angels, Saugatuck Suites, and so. On this option A, I have that as being kind of the first date that we have blocked off. And then after that, I basically went through and this doesn't have to be exact, but, pretty much like 6 weeks, month and a half would be for each individual organization after that. So if we did it this way, we would have 8 slots to fill throughout the course of the year. And then another option I thought of would be to still have the month and a half or 6 weeks thereabouts for Al's Angels and Saugatuck Suites, but then maybe have the second half of January not have any lights or decorations on the tree, and then start February 1st and moving forward have each organization take a full month. So the reason I looked at that option was because, there are a lot of charitable organizations that have a specific month that is particularly important to that organization. So I thought instead of kind of carrying over 2 months, it might make more sense to have individual months. Also, this would allow us 11 slots as opposed to 8. So if it turns out that this is a really popular thing and a lot of groups are reaching out to us, this would enable us to recognize more groups. And then the final option is simply to change the amount of time that Al's Angel Saugatuck Suites has and just have them be the month of December. And then every group would have a month, and that would give us 12 slots. Now, with that final option, I'm not sure if we'd be able to do that since we do stipulate in our motion that we have that time set aside. So if we wanted to change it, we'd probably have to go back and amend the motion with the full commission. I don't know if it's really worth that, but I just wanted to put that in there as a third option. So I'll just throw it out and see if you guys have any other thoughts or if there's anything I've missed or if any of these are appealing to you at all.
Okay. Madam Chair.
This is Bridget.
Yes.
Okay, so this is Bridget. I'll just say I took a look at the 3 different options, and I am in favor of option A. I think it gives each organization ample time to have the lights up, and I like the fact that they would still possibly be able to. I'm just going to use Pink Pledge as an example, even if they, won't do this. But say they get their lights up in October, they have a little extra wiggle room, a little extra time to, get the awareness out. Just, in case like people didn't happen to see the tree in October, they have a couple extra weeks. So I kind of like that extra time. It's also like less work, right? The tree, having to get lit and unlit so many times per year. I just think especially like it can change. Who knows? But we're just kind of starting. This is a jumping off point. So I like the fact that there's only really those eight slots. And then the only thing I noticed was it says November 30th to January 15th, and then the next slot is like January 16th to February 28th. And then the continuation, it just it doesn't go to that next day. So if we do pick option A, we would have to just fix from February on to be like February 28th. So I guess it's March 1st, right?
Yeah. And realize there was a time. And I do agree that this does allow some more flexibility. So, there would be, you'd have more time to take, put the lights on and take the lights off. So, because if it's every single month, it does get a little bit tight. Chris, do you have any thoughts?
I do. I think just because we're starting off here, I like option A, and again, we're going to kind of be stewards of this along with other people that come and help us, weeks, days, months, years out. So it could be a situation where we just have a few charitable organizations now. We should give them as much time as we possibly can, that 6-week window. And if it gets to a situation, where it's extremely popular, we may want to part down to where it's a month, or other charitable organizations can work together. But I think, again, we really don't need to have anything set in stone at this point. I kind of just free-flowing and as it goes, we'll figure out what's best. And we just keep pushing the line. The one thing, though, I did want to mention, because on Wednesday's call, I think I had made, not the motion, but I had, when I was reading the letter from the Center for Social Justice, I think it said something along the lines of how this should support all charitable organizations dedicated to kids. Obviously with Pink Pledge, that's not necessarily a children's organization, right?
Right.
So how do we?
Well, actually, I was gonna bring that up next. So why don't we just say, for the time being, in terms of the timeline, we're going to go with option A, which I do think makes sense because it is the fewest number of slots, so we can start out and see. I mean, for all we know, we may do outreach and maybe only 5 groups, the first year decide they want to do it. So, we might as well start smaller, and then if it turns out it's incredibly popular and we want to expand it a little bit more and have the periods be a little bit shorter, we can do that, in subsequent years. But in terms of the Pink Pledge, I did send an email to Anthony and Scott and Brian as the commission leadership because we did, as a commission, get an email from the Pink Pledge organizers stating their hope that they would be considered for, to be one of the organizations chosen, and especially in October because that is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I did send an email to Anthony and Scott and Brian just saying my concern is that our motion last week was very specific to benefiting children in need. And so I did ask if, we would need to go back to the commission and have to revise our motion before we could go ahead and approve Pink Pledge, or if we could make an exception, except, how I feel about exceptions, you make one for one, and then all of a sudden, it's not the motion that we approved, because there was a lot of discussion. I know when Al was, giving his, explanation and the kind of the impetus behind the Tree of Hope was children in need. So, that was something that we really focused on. And while I think I might have mentioned the Pink Pledge as well, now that we're kind of like shoehorned into this specific term, I'm not really sure, but unfortunately I never heard back from Anthony or Scott or Brian, so I can circle back to them after this meeting and just say we wanted to get some more guidance on this and just see if it's okay for us to move forward with this, or if we need to, perhaps next month at our meeting just amend that motion to loosen it up a little bit so that we would be able to have Pink Pledge or other organizations down the road that help, families in need. Because you can certainly say that Pink Pledge helps families in need, but not children specifically.
Correct. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. I think, it can be the type of situation where I met it. I'll give you, kind of a specific example is I have neighbors, a woman has ALS, she's relatively young, and, we do the walk every year in Westport. I try to help out as much as I can. But it's the type of situation where I'm always brainstorming with the husband as to what we can do and stuff we can kind of organize. And, this is a type of situation where if you've ever done that walk at Sherwood.
Right, yeah, no, I know that walk, yeah.
And, a lot of it, the model behind TEEP is, really you're supporting the families, because going through a situation like that is just heartbreaking and devastating on those families. So, I think, again, the goal initially was children, but I think that we can broaden the scope to families, and that's where we can bring in other organizations that, again, ALS, Pink Pledge, AIDS awareness, stuff like that.
Right. So I think then maybe, because we're not going to be deciding tonight which organizations are going to be chosen, for the coming year. So we do have a little bit of time. So I'll just circle back with them and just see, if we do need to, change the motion at our next meeting, or if there's some more flexibility there. And so for the time being, we'll just kind of put this off to the side and see what they think, and then we can take it from there. But I certainly think it would make sense to try to find a way to recognize them, because they are a great organization, and there are other organizations as well that would also be worthwhile, that wouldn't fall under these narrow parameters. So then I just kind of segueing onto that, so we have possible organizations that I just provided a list, just really brainstorming off the top of my head, and these all, except for Pink Pledge, deal more specifically with children. But I'm sure there are many more that I don't know if there are any that you thought of that I could add to the list, or if you just want to maybe send me an email afterwards so we could kind of come up with our own list, and then the next step would be to kind of do the outreach. But is there anything here that, that doesn't look like it fits, or are there any ones that I left off that you think we should add?
No, I
like your list. I think it was very, it was comprehensive, and I feel like it really involved a lot of local charities. I came up with a few others. I'll just email you separately. Okay. And then we can just add those to the list too. And I just want to make one other point.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, go. You finish what you were saying. I'll go next.
Okay. Yeah, really quickly. I think no matter what, we are going to have to go back to the commission regarding the motion, because we also forgot to mention anything about like a plaque or some sort of little signage kind of explaining which charity was going to be highlighted. And I think that's important, and that's kind of the point of this, is if we're highlighting specific charities, then people need to go up to the tree and kind of know exactly who they are, how to support them, how to donate, right? So we kind of missed that too. So.
Okay. Good. All right, Chris, what were you going to?
Give me a second. But actually, that's a great point, Bridget. I was thinking about that today, and these organizations are highly organized. So I think I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. I think what would be incumbent upon is kind of organizing through the town. So, whether town hall or Parks and Rec, kind of blast it out on social media or something that, working with the Patch, other types of newspapers, so that it is widely known that these trees are going to be lit. for 6 weeks at a time, and people come to the center of town, they can donate for these organizations, frequent the restaurants, other types of stuff. So I think, if we can bring other people on board or like-minded people that kind of would town criers, if you will, to help these out, I think that's something we should be in discussion with.
Yeah, no, I do definitely agree with both of you that we definitely need to make sure that if we're going to do this, that these organizations that we're recognizing are recognized, and that people understand what it's about. I was thinking, in addition to, if we wanted to do some sort of signage, and definitely, each month and a half that, a press release would go out to the Patch, the Citizen News. I think it would also be a great way, at the beginning of the Board of Selectmen meeting, in the time period when a new group would be recognized. At the beginning of the meeting, the first selectwoman could say, just want to highlight, this month's or, the most recent, organization that's being recognized at Sherman Green is such and such, next time you're in the area, take a look, and this is this organization and that kind of a thing. So, there are definitely a lot of different ways that we can make sure that people are aware of who the groups are as each one is recognized and what they stand for and contact information and all that kind of stuff too. So I definitely think that that's another piece of this is the informational part where people know, what these groups are. So
correct.
That's
and
definitely
also my
something
original
we could
point,
talk about at the next meeting too.
So my original point was, we've sat on this commission for Parks and Rec for a few years, and every now and then, we have great resources in terms of our town. So I've seen over the years as a commissioner, organizations come from far and wide to utilize Fairfield. So is there a way, again, brainstorming that we kind of want to lend credence to organizations that are local to begin with, rather than say something that maybe is not something that's a national organization or is not a state organization, and then as it expands, kind of open those doors?
For something that is based, say, in Fairfield or in Fairfield County,
Fairfield County, basically. Something that's kind of near and dear to people locally.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Give a priority to that.
Right, exactly, like a local food kitchen as opposed to something like the Red Cross that's like a national organization. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. We only have so many days in the year and so many months, and it's that type of situation where I shop local.
Oh, yeah,
right.
No, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. So, okay. So then, moving ahead, is there anything else we want to discuss just in terms of these possible organizations? I guess, Bridget, you'll send an email with your thoughts, and Chris, if you have any additional thoughts to add to this list, you could just send me an email, and we could, kind of have a complete list so that we can send it to the rest of the commission just to kind of show them what we've been doing.
Perfect.
Sure.
Okay. So then in terms of outreach for, in addition to this list that we put together, there very well could be other organizations in town that are doing good work that we don't know about. And so I do think it would be a good idea to, do some outreach before we come up with a list that we're going to go through to decide for the coming year. So my thought would be to, put together a brief press release just saying what this program is and what we're looking for, and then send it to the local papers, send it to Channel 12, see if it can get put on the town website, if the first selectwoman can mention it at her, the upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting. Parks and Rec has, Instagram and Facebook, so they could post on there, and just try to get as much outreach as possible so that if there are other people in our community who are a member of an organization or know someone who's a member of an organization, they could reach out to us and, through Kelly at Parks and Rec, and then send us their information, and then we can kind of put everything together, and then maybe at our next meeting, go through everything and kind of come up with a game plan. Does that sound?
I love that idea. So that sounds great. And then I have one other question. I think we're all in agreement, with October for Pink Pledge. Do they need to come before us officially in September at our next meeting, kind of present what they did on the email, and then it goes to a commission vote?
Well, and that's the other thing. I'm not totally sure of the process if this is the kind of thing, because, again, the motion says that it's approved by the Parks and Recreation Commission. No. So my thought is that we kind of like the policy committee does with Board of Education, is that they go through and kind of do all the nitty-gritty work and then kind of present the final product to the commission, and then they kind of can go through, and if they have questions or whatever, they can kind of ask them at that time. So my thought is that if we can do the outreach, get the organizations to get back to us, and I guess also figure out when do we want to start, if we're going with this option October, A timeline. There is one period that, starts August 31st and goes through October 15th, or if we want to wait for October 15th to November 29th. A lot of that, I guess, depends on the meeting schedule, on this committee's meeting schedule, and then how that works with the full commission.
My opinion on that is, again, say October 15th to the 29th of November, Pink Pledge, that's their slot. If someone can present a case to us that they want in September, we're all in agreement. I think the more the merrier, as I said the other night.
Right, that we could have some flexibility there. So
yeah, August is obviously going to be tough, so trying to put that off to the side.
Yeah, I just think that, right now, we don't know how many people are actually going to reach out to us to want to do this, especially because it is the first year. Some people might not know, and then it might, kind of take off once they see what, other organizations are doing. So, so I guess maybe we'd say that the first one that we would be looking at would be the October 15th to the November 29th, just so that we're not biting off more than we can chew. So that way we can meet as a committee, we can present to the commission can approve, and then we can kind of get things going. So we'll start with that October 15th time slot.
That gives 6 to 8 weeks to get everything up and running.
Right. Especially, hopefully at some point we'll be able to meet in person again, but, for the time being, the phone meetings, while they might be more convenient in some ways, aren't as good when having discussions, especially because we'll be having more detailed discussions once we get more information about the organization. So it may take a little while. Mm-hmm. So, all right, so counting backwards then. So if we are looking to have an organization, and it could be theoretically the Pink Pledge, assuming we can, figure out the with the motion and everything, that's October 15th. So basically we would then need to have board Parks and Rec approval would be the month before. That's September 16th. Because the next meeting for Parks and Rec is the 21st, I believe. Yeah, it's the 21st, so that would be after October 15th. So we're looking at the goal would be to get at least the first few proposals to the Parks and Rec Commission by the September 16th meeting. And so then counting backwards, we'd want to figure out just how long a timeline do we want to allow, to do the outreach, to, get a press release out to try to get people to respond, and then have the time for the three of us to put it together to then be able to present to the commission on September 16th.
Yeah, that seems doable, and especially because Al already has the November slot.
Right.
So it's
so
like,
then we'd be looking,
even if we don't get any, but yeah, exactly. We have so much time.
Right. So, because I just think trying to do something by August would really be pushing it, because we'd have to present to the commission. And I'm not actually totally 100% sure that we are meeting in August. It seemed to be something.
I know. I was thinking
about
the same
that.
thing.
So,
I don't think we are.
Okay,
I don't think we are.
I think it probably makes more sense to just have the goal be September 16th to, at the very least, be presenting the, October 15th to November 29th proposal. And if we do have others that would fit in for January, February, March, then we could do that at that time as well. If not, then we'll have some more time to kind of do it incrementally as we get and see how many requests we get too. So I guess the goal for now would then be to get a press release. And like I said, I just did a sample here, which is really basic, but we can certainly, tweak it, or if you guys want to take a crack at it, feel free. But so we just need to figure out when we want to have submissions due by, at least the initial thing. And if it turns out not a lot of people get back to us, then we might need to send out more outreach, perhaps like in November, December. if we only have enough to fill through, the first couple of months of 2021, then we might need to do another kind of call for information if we don't get a huge return the first time. But so I guess, how much time do you think we should allow for groups to get back to us before then we, kind of have a cutoff date?
I think initially
like 2 weeks would be good, or
at least 30 days, just because sometimes with the meetings, well, then again, we don't necessarily are going to have to we're not going to have to get commission approval. That's right.
Right. Yeah. So all we need to do
days.
is, in my view, to start with, is to just get a press release written, get it out to the press and, to the town and to Parks and Rec to have them promote it, and we can promote it ourselves, in any venue we see fit, and then allow any organizations who see it to send us the information by X date. After that date, then the three of us will meet to review whatever submissions we have and then come up with a recommendation, I would say, that we would then bring to the commission on September 16th.
Good idea.
Does that sound like a plan?
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, good. So then how much time do you think we should allow for groups to respond? So once we send out the press release, we should say, well, I guess the question would be, so if the commission's meeting on September 16th, we would want to try to meet, I guess maybe a couple of weeks before that to go over all the submissions?
Mm-hmm. We could try and do a 14-day.
Yeah, 14. I think we definitely, the three of us, can get this done within a 2-week window.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically we'd probably want to look at something maybe the end of August, the very beginning of September for the three of us to meet.
Yeah, that's fine.
Would that work?
Okay.
And then we could just hopefully, be able to just in that one meeting go through the information, come up with a recommendation, with, a schedule, if certain groups have certain months that they specifically are requesting, and then we can take that to the commission by September 16th. So basically maybe why don't we just, we can email each other, look at your calendars and see what maybe the last week in August and then the first week in September look like for you guys, and we could come up with a couple of dates and times like we did this past time, and then take it from there. And so then basically, so whatever that date is, we will then say, maybe a few days before that date that we're meeting, that's the deadline for submission.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So whatever
and who are the submissions going to?
I was thinking that it would go to Kelly at Parks and Rec.
Okay.
That it would be sent, via email to her, and then they would just put in the title line, Sherman Green Tree Recognition, and so that whatever she gets, and I would talk to her and Anthony in advance, obviously, and just say, heads up, when you get these things, can you just forward them to me and Chris and Bridget, and the three of us will all have that information, and then, we could even, once we have it all together, I could ask Kelly to post it, as backup material so that, everyone can see who submitted before we actually meet, especially if we're not meeting in person. But yeah, we'll just, I guess, play that.
Yeah, we should definitely run it through their office.
Yeah, exactly. So and then because there is, how Kelly was getting the, the public comment emails, and anytime any email goes to the commission, there is that other like recommission at fairfieldct.com. So either one of those could be the one that that these submissions are sent to, and then we could just make sure that whenever she gets them, that she just sends them to the three of us, and then we can go through them then.
Correct. All right.
Sure.
All right, so that sounds like a plan?
Yep.
Okay, great. So, so I guess I'll send a follow-up email to you guys, but in the meantime, I'd say the week of August 24th and the week of August 31st, if we could come up with a few dates, that would work.
I'm wide open. I'm wide open those 2 weeks. I get back.
Okay.
I think
I'll just go through my day book because I know I have a Board of Ed meeting at some point in there, and but other than that, I should be okay. And so then we'll see which dates and times work best for us, and then we will and then we'll use that date as the deadline for the submissions. So I guess that's it. Is there any other business that we want to take up at this point? Any other comments?
I thought this was very productive. Thank Thank you,
Great.
everybody.
Okay, good. So what I will do is I'll just send a follow-up email just, about the dates, and we can figure out a date to meet, and then I can get that information to Kelly, and I will also talk to Kelly and Anthony just in terms of the submission email, if she'd prefer to have it go directly to her or to the Rec Commission email. And, and so we're going to go with option A. I don't think we need to actually take a vote on it since we'll be, discussing it in more detail. And then I will also let Scott and Brian know that our plan is to bring the recommendations for at least the first few months, if not longer, to the full commission for a vote on September 16th.
Okay.
Right. Sounds good.
Okay. Great. So with no other business, I would say that this subcommittee meeting is adjourning at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Bridget.
All right.
Great. All right.
Thanks,
so much,
guys. All right. See you soon.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.